Have you ever played a game that doesn't have a goal? Like a basketball game with no hoop, or a hockey game with no net, or baseball with no bases? How long do you actually want to play that game? It doesn't seem like you actually want to play it because you end up, with nothing to do. It doesn't seem that motivating to play. And there's no point to it, right? So if you're playing a game that has no goal, then there's two things that happen. One, you quit and go off and do something else, or you make up a goal on the spot. So take spinning a ball on your finger. Right? Have you ever thought you've seen basketball players, spin the ball on their finger and, do all sorts of fun tricks with the ball? Well, if you try that with just for fun, you might spin the ball for a couple seconds or something, and you might get good at it, you might not, it'll fall, whatever. But if you have a goal of spinning the ball for like 5 seconds, and then 10 seconds, and then 20 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and soon, if you have that mentality that you really want to learn how to spin the ball on your finger and show off to your friends that you can spin the ball for 2 minutes on your finger, then you'll keep going because you have a goal. A goal to use, that skill to, show off or whatever. So the game of spinning the ball on your finger without the goal is left behind. With a goal, you'll keep on practicing until you can do it. So remember, when I was young, the Rubik's Cube was a new toy, a new puzzle, and a lot of people bought it by the millions. And some people, they bought it and mixed it all up and tried to solve it and then got bored and stuck it on the shelf. Some people had the goal of actually solving it, so they sat there and they figured it all out. They did the numbers, they read some books about how to solve it, and they solved it after mixing it all up and then put it on the shelf, solved on the shelf. And then there's some people that wanted to learn how to solve it fast, so they set themselves timers, right? And I think there was somebody who did it in like 15 seconds or something like this, solving the Rubik's Cube super, super fast. Well, now there's people that there's a record, I think, I don't remember who said it, by a young fellow who was bouncing on a trampoline solving Rubik's Cubes. Right? What's the point? The point is that he had a goal. All these people that had the Rubik's Cube, beside the people that mixed it up and stuck it on the shelf, were people that had a goal. 1 wanted to solve it, 2 wanted to solve it fast, 3 wanted to solve it in a way that nobody else could solve it, and many of them. So that's the power of a goal. So without a goal, your motivation drops. You need the motivation, you need a goal to keep your motivation high. These guys that say, I just set a system. Well, why do you set the system? Why do you make a system to get a goal? Or why do you make a system if you don't have a goal, right? You have to have the goal to set the system. If your goal is to become wealthy, then you're going to set a system so that you save money, you make more money, you learn some things about finances. These are the systems that you set, but without the goal, you won't set the systems. So, you have to have that goal. With a goal, you'll continue to move forward towards that. So, it's the basketball on the finger, right? 5 seconds. Now can I do 10 seconds? Can I do 15 seconds? Keep on moving the goalpost once you've achieved it, right? So you have to have a goal to keep yourself moving forward. But the unfortunate part, of course, is that having the goal doesn't guarantee success. Just because you have a goal doesn't mean that you're actually going to be able to get the success at the end. There's some things you have to do, of course, to maintain your motivation to achieve your goal. And if your goal is to develop habits, which is what we're talking about here, if you want to develop a habit, then you need to be motivated to do so. And the only way you can do that is have a goal to keep your habits alive. Right, so here's 3 things you can do to keep motivated. The first thing is to have a realistic, measurable, and challenging goal. So it has to be realistic. You have to be able to do it. If you believe you're never going to be able to achieve that, then the goal is ridiculous. Don't, I'm going to be a millionaire next year. Well, if you're in debt and broke, then probably you're not going to be a millionaire next year. You may, but most likely you're not going to be. So it's an unrealistic goal, and often when people set that type of goal, they set a goal so that they can have an excuse to fail. Well, don't do that. Set a realistic goal. It has to be measurable. That means that after you have worked on the goal for a while, you can look at it and say, okay, I'm this much closer or this much further away, depending on which direction you've been going. But you have to be able to measure it. I started here and now I'm here. All right, and it has to be challenging. Challenging means that you have to work. You have to stretch yourself a little bit to get there, but you're still capable of doing it. If you don't stretch yourself, then it gets boring and you don't do it anymore. Your brain has to be intrigued or motivated in a sense that it wants to learn, it wants to grow, and it doesn't like being bored. So if you challenge it towards a goal that you want, then you'll be able to move towards that goal. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is to need to break down your goal into specific small actions. Talk about becoming wealthy. Great, you want to become wealthy? Your goal is to increase your income 100% this year. Well, that's an admirable goal. You might be able to do it. What are you going to do on a daily basis to improve your income every day? Now, you're not going to be able to increase your income, 5 cents or 10 cents or 20 cents a day. I've talked about that before. The 1% improvements on one specific area, impossible. But you can improve 1% of something every day. So if your goal is to become financially independent, maybe your goal is to learn something about your finances, learn about something about accounting. Maybe you could learn something that people will pay for. You do some study. These are small little actions you can do that are, like I said before, they are realistic, they are challenging, and they are measurable. And if you have all those 3, those small actions that get you towards the goal, then you're good. Second thing is you have to have a specific, each action has to have a specific intrinsic reward. This means that you can't get the reward unless you do the action. It's like brushing your teeth. If you want clean teeth, you got to brush your teeth. You can't, have the reward of having clean teeth unless you brush them. That's an intrinsic part of it, right? You shouldn't motivate yourself to brush your teeth by eating a candy. After I brush my teeth, I'm going to eat a candy. Well, that's ridiculous. Brush your teeth, notice your teeth are not fuzzy anymore. That's the intrinsic reward of the action. Same thing with any other goal. Whatever action you're doing, if it doesn't have an intrinsic reward, then you're going to end up either having to reward yourself by giving yourself things that you think are good or valuable, but end up developing a need to continue to reward yourself that way. So just stick with the intrinsic rewards. And third, it should lead to a bigger goal, the bigger thing, right? So the little action leads to the big goal. And you keep on building those little actions till you have your big goal. And then the third thing you need to do is to practice. Practice those small actions every day, every single day. Practice them so that you can do them without thinking. These are the habits, right? The habits that you develop to be successful in whatever area, they become habitual. You just keep on doing them, and those actions just become more and more easy to do. So to do this, you should keep track of your successes. Keep track every time you do the action that's successfully, then write it down. Keep track of it. Put a little X mark on your calendar, whatever it is. Just keep track of it. And then notice when you get better. Like the first time you do something, the first week you do something, you're not going to be great at it. But if you keep doing it and you keep noticing your improvements, then that's going to be motivating and you're going to keep on doing it. And then finally, once you've sort of mastered one action, then add the next one. This is why you keep on moving up. This is what motivates you. And when you see that you're moving moving towards your goal rather than away from it, and you can do that by just continually adding another action that is to become a habit. And once you have all the habits that you need to have that goal in hand, then it'll be there, right? It's not like it's going to disappear. And even if it does, like in example of finances, if you have a turnaround and suddenly all your money disappears, well, you still have the habits. And so that's why people who have often lost everything will gain it back very quickly, because they have the habits already.